relaxed back, spent the day, eating tapas, drinking wine, had a nice buzz going, to say the least. And you and I were talking about going out for the night and celebrating. And I had been bumbling throughout the day just because I was single. And I was like, let's see what's here. Why the hell not? I'm alone by myself. Like, maybe get myself a little personal tour guide. So at this point, I think there was maybe 3 guys I was talking to.
Yes.
Right? 3, maybe 2,
Yeah.
3. And I had taken screenshots of them and I was passing that information along to you. And I was hesitant in general to like actually go out with somebody that night. New country. I've never been to Barcelona. Yeah.
So there is one that you send me and I go, why does he have a filter? Like one of those like Snapchat filters, like hiding a part of his face. And I go, I bet he has a big nose.
Yes.
And then you send me the screenshot of the next ones. And yes, the dog nose that was covering his nose was covered. I mean, that thing was barely big enough to cover the nose.
No, you were spot on. Your predictions on that were spot on.
And when you're internet dating, I assume you're posting the best photos that it can be. So
absolutely.
That one was easy where you were like, he seems nice, but I think I'm just going to call it a night. And then you send me a text or pictures of Gabe.
Yes. And I had found him and he was an American living in Spain, which is kind of cool because I haven't spent a lot of time talking to Americans outside of work yet in Europe. So it's kind of refreshing. And he's a photographer. And I believe I sent you his Instagram and the screenshots of his portfolio, right? Or was it just
and we completely dissected him completely. I mean, we knew everything down because internet dating, you have to do your due diligence. Number 1. Number 2, you're in an area that you don't know. So there were a lot of shared locations to where I don't know how helpful I was going to be, but like I knew around where you were to where if I didn't hear from you, like, it can be scary, but he seemed delightful in his pitch.
Yeah. And on top of that, like we're both like, reviewing him, so to say. And you're like, he seems pretty talented. And you had sent me some screenshots of some images I believe you got off Instagram because I hadn't gone down on far on Instagram at that point in time. You went much farther than I did. Thank you. But you had sent me some like photography. Like, it seems like he has it together and he's really cute and he had a dog. We had been talking, he had been hiking with his dog all day. So I'm like, hiking with your dog all day, totally my jam. Into it.
And this is a moment where you say, I'm tired. I don't think I'm going to go out.
It's true. I was not sold on the idea of like going back into reality
and
having to navigate a city I didn't know.
If you don't want to take a shower, that's fine. Put your hair up. Go have a good time. You just got this great contract. What's the worst thing that can happen? Literally, not really the worst thing that could happen, but one of the worst things is that you will have to pay for a glass of wine.
Well, to be fair, I sent you and a few other folks a screenshot of his profile and said, if I disappear tonight or turn out to be a skin lampshade, this is who I was with. Just, you're meeting people on Bumble. I'm in Barcelona. You don't know what could happen. So it's good to kind of share who the last person that saw you alive was.
We assume.
We just heard a story on one of our shared podcasts about some girl getting murdered off Tinder. So it's not a crazy thought.
I saw that Dateline too.
Not cute. Not good.
Nope. So
anyway,
so now he is a semi-permanent fixture.
He is. Yeah.
Yes.
So I went back after that weekend. Actually, it extended that trip by one day because I had that Monday off. I was supposed to go home on Sunday. I stayed another night in the city to hang out with him. Went back the next weekend. And the weekend after that to Spain. It's like a 2-hour flight. So I was with him those next 3 weekends and I had family in town. He came out to see me. We kind of did this long distance back and forth thing. And now he lives in Holland with me here in Amsterdam. And he's pretty damn fantastic. So I'm pretty fortunate to have a good friend like you to point me in the right direction and B, not have gotten murdered that night.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. Just never know. Just people are weird,
Absolutely.
It was good though.
Okay, here we go.
Are you ready to share?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it. I'm going to take it. Okay, go on.
I am here on a work contract, and my friend from Atlanta says, "You're in the Bible Belt. Let me come to you, and I'll at least keep you company and save you a little bit." So my girlfriend from Atlanta, who, if I had to describe her, is like a Samantha of the Sex and the City type of friend.
Okay. I see.
Not so much in looks, but definitely confidence and boldness and unfiltered. So we go to a local bar, and she sits next to this guy, and I can tell it's like the first person she's like kind of had interest in, and he's with a friend, and the friend's a tall bald guy, and I was kind of okay. Like I've gone through my shaved head deal, so that was a thing that I could totally get into. So I'm like, okay, he's not really my type, but you know what? I'll be a good wingman and I'll take one for the team. So I come up to the gentleman as well, and I overhear my girlfriend's conversation, and it is not her best pitch, but the guy looked like a slimmer Vince Vaughn-ish.
Oh, I love Vince Vaughn.
And she was like, "Has anyone ever told you you look like Vince Vaughn?" And this was right after like Vince Vaughn got puffy. No judgment. Like, I'd rather have a puffy Vince Vaughn than a coked out one. But
yeah, I'll take a puffy Vince Vaughn.
So she's like, "Has anyone ever told you you look like a Vince Vaughn?" And he's like, "No." And he doesn't talk a lot. And so then
he's not Vince Vaughn.
So he's not Vince Vaughn, yeah. And she goes, "I just quit smoking. Can you blow the smoke in my face?"
Oh, Lord.
And I see him continue to like signal to the bartender to bring more shots. And he's like downing them very quickly.
Oh.
And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus, you are doing this so wrong." And so I talk to his friend, and I'm like, "Oh, so how do you guys know each other? Blah, 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 blah." And he's like, he's actually my nephew. And I'm like, "Oh, really? That's strange." So they're like, "Yeah, there's 4 years apart from us, blah, blah, blah." So Vince Vaughn starts taking more shots as my girlfriend from Atlanta is down, like just coming with the one-liners, and I tune her out because it's just awful. Yeah.
Do we know what kind of shots he was taking? Like vodka, whiskey, tequila?
I think it was tequila.
Okay, so he's stressed out. He's definitely wanting to escape this conversation.
Yeah, he's trying to be polite, but yeah.
And he's a thinner Vince Vaughn, which makes me think that he has a higher tolerance, but not quite maybe the highest.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
So my friend goes to the bathroom, and then a group of girls, the bar is not very full, but a group of girls, I was at a bar top close to us. They were like homely looking, but they were fine. Mm-hmm. They leave. And I'm here trying to like work the conversation and try to help her out. And I'm like, God, I really all right, if I have to, I'll take one for a team. And all of a sudden, the bald guy goes, "Where did all the hot chicks go?"
All right.
And I'm like,
turn the conversation.
All right, well, this chick's done. Like, I don't need to take one for the team. Mm-mm. Like, I was like, okay, that's my signal to go. Like, I don't give a fuck if my friend wants to sleep with this guy. Like, I'm done. And so I go to turn around, and Vince Vaughn grabs my arm, and he's like, "No, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "What?" And he like was surprised that what was coming out of his mouth was not English. And I'm like, "Oh God, okay, you can't." And he's like trying to basically say, "No, I was trying to tell him to have everybody else leave, but you." And so I basically looked at his uncle and said, "Make sure he doesn't drive. You guys have a lovely night." But that was the night that I met my husband and almost fucked his uncle.
Almost fucked his uncle.
maybe it's a stretch that I almost fucked him, but I definitely, she has done so much for me in the past that I thought the least I could, like, you know, it's the least I could do is sleep with this guy so my friend can get some action.
I mean, sure, we make those sacrifices every now and then. There are ways to do it for sure. I hear you.
Now, to the girlfriends that are like, wow, you're a really shitty friend, keep in mind, she's a true Samantha. So she was just in town for whatever. She goes back to Atlanta. I run into my husband a few weeks after that, and he can speak English. He's still very quiet, but he can speak English, and he apologizes for being very drunk. I mean, he's like, sorry, she was very forward. I was not that into it. I talk with her and say, hey, remember that guy? She's like, oh, which one? I'm like, the one at the bar that kind of looked like Vince Vaughn. She's like, oh yeah, that guy. I was like, he asked for my number and asked me out on a date. Like, is that cool? She's like, oh yeah, you're fine. I'm like, okay. So, I gave him my number, and I never gave my number out. And then he didn't call.
He didn't call?
No. And I ran into him like a couple weeks after that. And he was like, hey. And I'm like, hey, oh, you didn't call me. And he was like, I just didn't know if you were going to know which Chris it was. And I was like, oh, fair enough.
Sure. I mean, you could have tested those waters, but okay.
So, Jenny, what I'm getting from this is that your guy's stuck because of his lack of follow-up, or what?
He cares least. He has one.
He was a challenge. Still is sometimes, but
aren't they all?
But I've put in the work, and I'm sticking through this one right now.
Cassie stalked somebody in Spain.
I did not stalk somebody in Spain.
You went back to Spain for like 3 weeks in a row.
Because he invited me.
And Jenny basically was pissed off that hers didn't follow up with him. So she basically, out of spite, kept that.
I don't know how I feel about this perspective of the conversation.
I feel Cassie just did her due diligence. I wouldn't really call it stalking.
We reviewed the information that was provided. I was provided an Instagram and a profile.
Well, that was the stalking part. That was like the 3 other trips to Spain that I was talking about. Like you hunted Gabe.
Well, some men need that.
Oh man. So that's how we met our current situations.
And that's how it happened.
And I did not sleep with my husband's uncle.
But you almost did.
Yeah.
At least, that would have made for very awkward times.
I would have. If I have to be honest, like I would have totally done that for her.
But as a Samantha of the group, she was going to sit on someone's dick. So it's not a sacrifice you would have had to made. You know what I mean?
I felt like the vibe I needed to occupy him so that she had a better chance.
That's fair. I can understand that.
He was going to pull him away. He was going to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to distract, and he was a dick, which I usually would be into. But I was like, yep, nope, we're good. I can check out. So anyway, maybe next time we should talk about the big ones.
Sure, we can dive into that.
We're doing another dick episode. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe.
I mean,
I did a detour.
I was talking about architecture across Europe. Brian, I'd like you to get your mind out of the gutter. Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Eiffel Tower. Jesus, man, come on.
I did a detour game, and it was like, it's a good one. And it's because I don't want people to be like, oh, they're always bitching about blah, blah, blah. I would like to embrace some of the situations from seasons past.
Sure. So, I mean, we can play the detour game. I could do a little more research on my side too. There's been some very positive outcome ones that I'm proud to say.
Yeah, good for them.
I'm okay with that.
So if you've got a weird moment, maybe how you met your current partner, send it to itgotweirdpod@gmail.com. Follow us on IG at itgotweirdpod and Twitter If you'd like some episode hints and some saucy pictures, go ahead and follow us there. And until next time, Kat.